And sends a message back, he says B.
That's it. Keeping it simple. Well, welcome everyone. It is 8 o'clock. It is May the 8th, 2022. Welcome to the Saturday service. The time just kind of snuck up on me there. Glad you guys are all here. I do have some follow-ups from last week that I want us to begin with. But before we do that, I'm going to take a moment to
breathe.
Just to taking a moment, and I ask you all to take a moment. I'm going to do the screen share where you can see my whole desk. This is all what I have us prepared to do today. All of these, plus this is an entire stack that we're going to get to. We're not going to get to all of it, and I'm just showing myself all of that so that I can know that's fine. And let me show everyone who's watching at home. Here people who are there. Folks, give a wave. Say hi. Hi, Barb. Hi, Ron. Hi, Betsy and Rob and Rita and Eileen. And good morning, everyone. And good morning to you. If you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube after the fact, and you want to join one of the Zoom boxes, you can. We are running out of Zoom boxes, so make sure to get here early so that you can be here too. An extra bonus shout out, I guess, to people who are on live Zoom for being here live. That takes a certain amount of vulnerability and guts to be willing to show yourself live at a service. And if you're not, no shame. Apparently introverts exist. I don't understand the idea, but not everyone thrives on public attention. So a few follow-ups and that I want to make. One, last week I said something and it made it seem as though I was advocating that we aren't affected by outside circumstances and that we should be able to walk through the world without what's going on outside us affecting us. And I think I went a little too far on that. I implied too much that we all have the ability to not take the insults of the world personally. That's just not true. Life, there's some great sociological experiments that prove that you get affected by the world around you. That's totally normal. And not to hold ourselves to the standard, not to be so detached that we don't interact with the world, and not to hold ourselves to a standard that we shouldn't ever get upset. Of course we should. There are very upsetting things that happen in the world. Okay, glad I got to that one. I do want, Alex, if you could put the link that I sent you up. And folks, if you have, I'm going to ask us, we're going to do something new this week. And I decided, like when I taught high school, every so often I'd rearrange the seating chart. I didn't always have a seating chart, but sometimes I'd say, all right, and put up on the whiteboard where everyone was sitting just to mix things up. And I wanted to mix things up here, and you can't rearrange where people sit on a virtual service. So I'm going to ask us to make an internal shift to change where you're seated. If you're used to spending a lot of the time during this service on the chat, maybe lay off the chat and send individual messages to people. If you've never been in the chat, maybe this is a week to try. And Alex, did you get to put that link up in? Yes, thank you.
It is.
If you're in the chat and you have extra brain space available, and we don't always, but if you have extra brain space available, you'll see there's a Google Doc, and right below, to the service. Below it are the notes from last week. And I'd love if you would put in a little bit, if you have an extra brain space, and to live edit this with other people of what's going on in the service, so that when I put up the video, people are able to find which part. And this is going to be an imperfect system. This is if you want to play along and help to time code the service as we're doing it, it would really be appreciated. Let me do a few other follow-ups. quick follow-up. I'm going to do the thing so I can see all your faces. Hello, faces. Quick review. We talked about this last week, and I just want to review it so that we have it in our minds. The answer to the question, who is rich? We had a few different answers last week, and I just wanted to review it to hold it in our heads. Somebody have a good answer to that question of who is rich? We had a few different responses last week. Yeah, go ahead, Rob. What do you got?
Who's ever at peace?
Whoever's at peace. That's wealth. That's real richness. Anyone remember any other definitions we had?
I see true.
Yeah, Emily. It wasn't the people who have the most.
Who are satisfied with what they have.
It's the people who are satisfied with what they have. The people who need the least are the richest. And I'm glad we...
The people who need the least. That was it.
That's it. So I'm glad to review that so that we can keep that in mind, because our society tends to tell us that wealth is about other things. Some other review topic. We talked about last time, I'm going pretty quickly because this is review. We talked last time about the ring theory, about mourning ring theory, and this is Dr. Silk's theory that when a calamity hits, there's a person who's at the epicenter, and there are then the people who are outside of that, and then there's friends, and then there's acquaintances outside of that. And the ring theory said that the people on the inside are allowed to dump to the people outside of them, and the people who are on the outside are supposed to comfort on the way in. And I had two follow-up thoughts about that I wanted to share with you. One, my mentor Dino, brilliant Jungian analyst, and he was dying. He had told me he was going to die, and I called him, and I was crying. I was crying that he was dying, and he said, and he had this beautiful Italian accent that I wish I could fully remember and I wish I could replicate. And he said, Brian, the tears you are crying right now, those are your tears. They have nothing to do with me. Mm. And what I realized was now, how I see it is, I was asking him to take care of my sadness at his leaving. And that wasn't his job at all. Right? He was at the epicenter of that one, not me. Another version of that happened in this last week where Jane and I were asked, we were asked if we would be guardians of an adult who is developmentally needs caring for. And we had to answer no due to circumstances. We had to answer no. And in our answering no, we were really tempted to pervert this and say, you have to understand why we're saying no. It really hurts us to say no to your request. Mm. And that would be perverting this, again, is that they're at the inside asking for help, and our making them take care of us would have been the wrong way of doing it. Okay, let me see. I have a few other reviews. Ron. Hi, Ron.
Hi.
I owe you an apology because last week I did something and I've been thinking about it all week. You were on a trip last week. You were on a trip, and last week was the first time you had returned back to being with the group. And I didn't ask you, and we didn't set this up, so you might not have an answer at the tip of your tongue, but did you learn something in the 8 weeks you were gone that you'd care to share with all of us who are here?
Oh, yeah. I learned a lot. I think the most important one was no matter how beautiful the photos are, they can't replace being there in person.
Mm. Wow. Mm.
The hearing about intellectualizing, appreciating the beauty of all of that stuff can never replace the actual experience.
Thank you, Ron. And I'll meta view out on this for a moment and say, Ron, part of what hit me so hard was that this is a community. And last week when Ron said, I haven't been here for 8 weeks, I went back to talking about what it was that I had planned on talking about. And I forgot that this is a community, and if we have a member who hasn't been here, who's returned, that's part of being in a community, is to acknowledge that and to see that person. So, Ron, I thank you for sharing and for bringing. You have another comment to make. Go ahead.
Just quick context: 49 days, 4,900 miles, 10 national and major parks.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And you're
Lucky
still
duck.
married.
We like each other.
Good. Good. It makes it a lot smoother that way.
Good choice.
So thank you, Ron. Let me get back to my reviews. I don't know what that one is. Last week, also, we talked briefly about Kolberg and stages of moral development. This is just for those who want to go the further deep. I was reading a book, and I can't remember the author's name right now.
Isn't it
Carol Ox,
Colgate?
you gave me the name of the book. It was about the sacred divine. Do you recall the name of the author? Bridging the Sacred Divine, something along those lines. You had given it to Afia, who gave it to me. Anyway, she had this theory about Kolberg, and I'm going to just leave that theory be because it's not making any sense to me right now. That's great. Okay, good. Other piece of review. How many of you in the last week, well, first of all, does anyone here remember we talked about the difference between a limousine or taxi and a bus? I see a few nods happening there. Anyone remember it well enough that they would like to say it back, or would you like me to review what the topic was?
Limousine.
Somebody remember the taxi versus a bus?
Limousine.
We're on the bus.
We're on the bus. Thank you, Maria. But help us a little bit more about we're on the bus. What is that?
The taxi takes you to exactly where you want to go, and the bus gets you close by, but not there exactly.
Thank you.
Oh,
Alex.
yeah.
Yeah. So the taxi gets you exactly where you want to go, and the bus gets you close by, but not exactly. And
Well, and the time.
say that again.
You can do your taxi at the time you want to do it.
Right. The taxi's on your schedule, and the bus you got to do when the bus is ready to go. And what's that have to do with life in this service?
Well, wait a minute. But the difference, but what about limousine and taxi? You'd be doing the same.
It's correct. Limousine and taxi are one, and the bus is another. Or train
Okay.
and the bus could be the other.
Okay.
But one is specific for you, and one is a communal affair. And what does that have to do with this service, and what does that have to do with life?
This is Marilyn. Good morning. Because people who are not transit dependent do not have any idea what it's like, and then you add a pandemic on top of it.
Okay.
There's a big difference between having a car during a pandemic and being transit dependent.
Very, very true. Very true. Very true. How does this have to do with this service?
Because you're not always going to arrive where you expect to arrive, when you expect to arrive on a bus.
Correct. And that's this service, and most things that we attend, it's very nice that you'd like the thing to happen when you'd like the thing to happen. It's very nice that you think I should have done the service in a certain exact way. This service is a bus.
The other thing that happens is the arrival place is different for each of us in the service.
Correct. Thank you, Alice. Everyone's getting. We're going the same direction, a little different. Go ahead, Rob.
Can I have a transfer, please?
Yes, you may. Yes, you may. And I'm going to push the analogy along with you, Rob. I encourage you to take other buses.
Oh.
It's a good way to see a city. You take a bus.
It is a good way to see a city.
Yeah, experience.
It's a communal experience too, isn't it?
It kind of is.
And you also on the bus, and this is my next little note, on the bus, you have to interact with a group of other people.
Yeah.
No, that's why headphones were invented.
You don't have to interact with people on the bus.
You
No,
you
doesn't
are
even matter if you're playing
interacting.
anything. Just put the headphones in.
Okay, go ahead, Maria. Were you just saying something? I heard a different voice. I apologize.
I heard Gord say something, and I don't think.
Go ahead, Gord. Thank you.
No, I was just saying that it's, you got the other folks on the bus. It was exactly where you were headed.
Yeah, there are other people on the bus.
Community experience.
And whether you put on a headset or not, you're still interacting with the other people. And whether you have your video on or not, you're interacting with other people. And here's a note that I used to say this to my students all the time. We're not all going to get along perfectly all the time.
Is that what that says?
That is exactly what that says. We're not all going to get along with each other all the time. And
that isn't what that says, though. That says we don't get along perfectly, but we all get along perfectly, because it's perfection is in the moment.
Rob,
whatever it is.
You are correct. Rob is winning our philosophy reward of the day. There's a quote that says perfection. I think it was Spinoza, and Carol, you will be good to correct me if I'm off, that perfection and reality are synonymous. And I'm getting a nod from our Spinoza expert that, yes, I got Spinoza correct on that one. And that's a really good one to contemplate. Perfection and reality are synonymous, and it's when we argue with either, we get ourselves into trouble. Thank you. But let me, and then I'll get to Ron. People are going to say things during this service. People might say something in the chat, or people might not say something, and it might be upsetting to you. And part of being in a community is realizing we're not all going to love all the things that everyone says at all times. And that's just true. Go ahead, Ron.
In my travels, I have noticed that cities with good mass transit systems that are widely used are much more tolerant of each other than cities where everyone is riding in the car to their destination and generally do not have contact with people who are not similar to them.
Which explains why my home city of New York City, of Manhattan, that's why people are so friendly there.
They're not, it's not that they're friendly, they're tolerant.
They're tolerant. You're absolutely right. There's something very universalizing about the fact that everyone's got to ride the same subway. Thank you.
It's a wonderful way to tour a city, is to get on a bus, take it clear to the end of the line, and people will be so happy to give you a tour of the city and tell you special things about it.
Very, very nice. Very nice. I'm going to take a moment, and we're going to turn our thoughts towards those who we want to lift up in our heads and our minds, and we maintain a list of these people at the Religion Outside the Box Clubhouse. And Alex, if you would put a link to the Clubhouse in the chat so people can see it. And we're going to spotlight Joe. Joe, if you, there's Joe. If you would read for us the names today.
I would love to read the names today. We start with Derek, Alex, Diane, April, Joe, Lauren N, Lauren L, Shirley W, Rita S, Rita W, Kip gets a hurrah this morning, Francis, Maria, friends and family that are still grieving Nikki, and those grieving anyone that they've lost, Greta V, Christina's Sustainability Fair, Jeff and Kathleen, Marco and his family, cousin Amy, Odessa Ackerman, Ryan Wolf, Brooke Wolf, Gary Wolf, Debbie R, Mary Ryan, and all moms or sisters or aunts or anyone who serves in a nurturing capacity for this weekend.
And I'm going to add into that list also all those who have had very difficult relations with mothers, for whom Mother's Day weekend is a little special extra, a little bit painful. So let's take a minute when the clock here comes to 15. Okay, I'm going to try doing something a little bit different today. I'm going to try a new segment. Give me one moment. Get my camera right. Okay, here it is. I'm going to give myself, here we go, this is Rabbi Brian's message for the beloved Religion Outside the Box community. And I'm going to set myself a timer for 10 minutes. And I'm going to teach for 10 minutes. And I'm going to, wait, there it comes, hold on. There's my little timer. 10-minute timer. And I wrote some notes, and I'm going to take us through my notes. The first part of the note asks this: what else do you have to do? What if you slowed down and stopped trying to control so much? What if I slowed down and stopped trying to control so much? We've talked about that in this service, the difference of using you and I. What if you slowed down and stopped trying to control so much? What if I slowed down and stopped trying to control so much? What if I slowed down and stopped trying to control so much for only 5 minutes a day? And what if I promised myself that after the 5 minutes I could go back to toil at full speed or double time? But what would happen if I slowed down for 5 minutes? What if...
You'd feel groovy.
What if... Thank you, Rob. What if I believed what I kind of know hinting in my heart, that I've been called to teach, to preach, to reach you? And in this case, I'm not talking about the general you. I'm talking about you. What if I wasn't talking about them, but I'm asking you for 5 minutes to think that the ancestors, the universe, God, Malka Hashemayma, what if I had the temerity to tell you that the universe has called me to tell you a certain thing? What if I held up my rabbinic authority? What if I told you that it's Deborah and Miriam's God who sent me to tell you to slow down? What if the message, we are okay and it's okay to not be okay, is the message? What if the message is to be less static, to be less rigid, to be more open? What if the message is I should be more vulnerable? What if the message is I should question more? What if the message is maybe I'm supposed to ask for and give help? Maybe the message is I should take up a little more space and I should shine more. What else is it that I have to do than to be here with you? What if I slowed down for 5 minutes? It feels good at first, like the water at the edge of a pool that's a little warmer than the rest of the pool. It feels good at first to slow down, but then I get a shudder of fear. Oh, I shouldn't be doing this. What if we all gave ourselves permission, just for 5 minutes, to slow down? What if, and the clock right there is hitting 5 minutes, we did that slowing down right now?
Love your leaves, Carol.
Yeah. What?
Thank you guys for sitting with me in a little bit of extra quiet time. I'm going to go into small groups, to breakout rooms, about 5 people. You'll have 6 minutes just to talk about where you are, where you find yourself, how the silence felt. And your breakout room, I'm going to remind you, is a public transport. Might not have all the exact people in the bus that you want to have in the bus with you. Some might have headphones on. Some might be playing music too loudly. It's random how that bus gets arranged. Alex, are our buses at the depot ready to transport?
Yes, they are ready. Shall I open the rooms?
Open them up. We'll see you in 6 minutes, everyone. It looks like everyone got sent, Alex.
Yeah, the new client has an option to send co-hosts to the rooms.
Oh, send me on. Is there any room that only has 1 or 2 people in it?
Let me see. We got we got 5, 5, 4,
5.
5, 5.
Well,
Yeah,
then let
they
me
look like
just
they're 4
stay
or 5.
here. I'll just stay here then. I don't want to.
Yeah, see, so I think the host doesn't automatically go, but you
Co-hosts
can,
now do.
But the co-hosts now get moved.
Okay. Just so you know, your voice is still being broadcast, as is mine. My face is. So here we are. Oh, and it looks like somebody or peoples have been updating the log and keeping track of.
That would be me.
Oh, were you typing those in? Thanks so much.
Hi, Brian.
Oh, hi, Jocelyn.
Hi, Al. Hi, Diane.
Diane's here too?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see.
I didn't want to do a breakout room because my back is spasming so bad. So
No worries.
declined.
I didn't see you, Diane. I'm glad.
That's okay. I'm laying in bed, so I don't put my video on.
Okay, that's fair.
Goodness. I'm so sorry to hear about your back, Diane. I understand completely. I have actually mowed a foot tall 1/3 acre of grass this week, and then spent the next 2 days laying down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard if you get all excited about doing stuff and then you'd overdo it. It's no good.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. Well, love to you. If you need anything, let me know.
That's very kind. Thank you, Diane. Not that there's much you can do laying on your back, but I got weeding that needs to be done also.
I've got so much to do. Oh, Brian, Rabbi, I was going to tell you.
Jocelyn. Jocelyn.
So my mother occasionally goes and gets a reading done, tarot reading. And this time she was told that she was going to be going moving. And she was going to be moving in spring. And so for a couple of weeks, she was very panicked about packing up the entire household to be prepared to move by spring. And when I finally told her there's no way on earth I am selling the house and moving by spring, she gave it up. And last week she found out that my sister-in-law is actually taking a road trip to Arkansas. So I bought a plane ticket for her to go down to Salt Lake to help her drive down to Arkansas. Turns out my mom is moving.
Oh my gosh. Well,
for the summer to start with, but yeah, the whole irony is pretty hilarious.
That's well played by the whoever did the reading.
Yeah, that's good. Obviously.
Anything else they said that we should be wary or mindful of?
I gotta pay attention to that.
Well, except for when it's true.
Yeah, in retrospect, all prophecies in retrospect are true.
Yeah, I'm prophesizing right now that I'm going to be doing yard work today.
Is it good in your area too?
We've all been getting a lot of rain, So
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We have. I had today I'm going to be
some of those
taking
clouds this way.
yeah, not where you are though. Sorry, Alex.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to be taking my mom to the day spa today.
Aw, that's nice. Alex, how are we doing on time? I got
We have 46 seconds until I give everybody the 1 minute warning.
Good. So from your guys' Diane and Jocelyn, Alex, 5 minutes of sprung silence. How did that feel?
I think it was pretty good. It's amazing how busy I still get to be while everyone else is being quiet.
I think that the 5 minutes, though, it felt like hard to differentiate between the 5 minutes of silence for respect or thoughts for people and the 5 minutes of silence for just calming down. My thought is, when you're just calming down and chilling and stuff, it's really hard for someone like me with ADHD to shut my brain. It don't work.
Oh, no,
it just has to flow.
Shut it down.
So in the 5 minutes that we were supposed to be quiet, I put myself on mute and cleaned my room.
Good for you. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, it's monkey mind is a real thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say that my ability to sit still and pretend to be calm is paying off in teaching Emmett how to drive. I sit in that passenger seat and I look like I'm calm, but on the inside I'm like, you're so fucking close to the cars on the right side.
So I know a woman. Her name was Beth Wilson. Bless the woman, she had, and I'm not joking, she had 20 children.
Oh my God.
I was best friends with her third youngest. By the time Tansy, my best friend, was going through driver's ed, the car that she used to teach her children had a weak spot on the passenger side about where the brake was supposed to be. And the joke was...
Everyone's coming on back. Welcome back. All right. Well, welcome back, folks. There they all are coming. So, hi. Welcome.
Hi.
Are there things that were said in your breakout room that you feel you would like to share with the greater group? Because there was some insight or something that we could all learn from. Is there something that was said in your particular room that you think would be good to share with the larger community?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Well, we had varieties of different responses. The silence was wonderful for some and incredibly difficult for others. And my one personal notice was that I will do 20 minutes of meditation, no problem, when that's what my intent was for that 20 minutes. But for the interruption of what I'm used to for the first hour, and that being inserted made the 5 minutes feel so much longer.
Can I have a quick show of hands? For how many people was that 5 minutes? At least 7.
Oh, at least.
It was a long 5 minutes. Ray, you have something to add?
For me, and I think some of the people in my group, it seemed like it went by very quickly.
Yeah.
Depends which part of the bus you're sitting on, I guess.
I wasn't ready for it to stop.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. I sort of like that. I thought, wow.
So there's a
A
common
unique thing.
misconception.
I used to wish that a minister, when he preached, that he would shut the fuck up for 5 minutes and quit talking.
Yeah.
Get
Kip had his hand up too, just so, I don't know if you know.
I didn't see Kip and then Ron.
Kip had his hand up, yeah.
So yeah, there are two things out of our group that I'd like to share. One is that several of us, as myself included, have had illnesses or things that have really turned into a gift because we've had to slow down, we've had to take time, we've had to ask for help, and to be able to surrender into that and to make it a spiritual experience. I know it's been useful for me, and I think it was for several other people. One of the things that came up in our group is sometimes the messages just we're not ready to hear them at all. And it just floats through your mind and you're like, I know I heard it, but I have no freaking idea what it means. And I think honoring that that's okay for folks at some point too is really important.
Yeah. Thank you, Kip and Ron, and then Betsy.
Skip. Yeah, I'm going to skip.
Okay, and then Betsy.
Okay, well, several of us in our group are dealing with something that's with various kinds of pain, and so we all agreed that whoever is free of pain is rich.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, pain has a way of coloring absolutely everything, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Yeah, Stephen.
Yeah, I think what was interesting about our group wasn't what was said, but what wasn't said. I mean, our group was so mellow that I would suspect somewhere between a third and a half of our time was silence. Yeah. And we were just carrying over from the silence before. And it was very unusual to be in a calm, quiet breakout room between Chicago time 10 and 11 on a Saturday morning.
Yeah. There's something.
I agree with you, Steve. I felt the same thing in the group.
Thank you, Charlene.
Wasn't it wonderful?
For some. Some people had to turn their cameras off and clean their room. Seriously. I don't know why we're laughing.
Thank you, because Harold's shaking his head really cute.
Yeah. Silence, and I've spoken about this a little in the past. Silence is really a holy thing. Mm-hmm. And if you think about a large group of people silent together without a play or a movie or something distracting, of just sitting in silence as a group is profound.
Mm.
Yeah. We really do feel the need to fill the space, don't we?
Mm. Sometimes.
Silence is golden.
Yeah. I'm going to move to some announcements, and I want to thank Alex. I know is helping maintain the timesheet. So thank you for doing that, and anyone else who please help to edit it. It's an anonymous Google Doc. Please go in and help out on that. Some notes. If Joe, I don't know if you put in that little thing we talked about in the chat. You did. If you want to say hi and you've not been here before, please put a note in the chat, and you can private message Joe. She's willing to welcome you on board if you've not been here before. Other thing is, we have in our clubhouse, we've had some member spotlight. Our friend Melissa, who a lot of you got to know through the talent show fundraiser for Ukraine. She sang the Long Rain Home. She is our featured Spotlight Religion Outside the Box Clubhouse guest member of the week. We have other people lined up. And if you haven't been in the clubhouse for a while, and I'm talking especially, I was given a note to ask Linda and Betsy to check in the clubhouse because there's a message waiting for you there in your little private chat.
You can't.
Other announcements immediately at 9:00 my time. We break into some small groups, and it's no longer recorded. If you want to stick around, there's Donut World, there's a poetry room, there's a deep dive room, and there's a new room called Rabbi's Chat Room, where if you have a question or comment that you didn't want to share in the large group, I will be there for about 15 minutes. I got a little extra noise going. There we go. That's that. if you're on Zoom and you've never been, if you've only been watching on Facebook or on YouTube and you want to join over to Zoom and say hi, you are welcome to do so. I do think somebody sent me a note, that might have been last week. Someone sent me a note saying that this was going to be their first week joining and they wanted to say hi. Is that person here? That might have been last week. Okay, I'm going to move on from that. I don't think I got to this note previously, and I want to. The same way that we changed we used to call it, we're doing a minute of prayer time, and we made the conscious decision to no longer call that minute of lifting up names. We said, let's not call that prayer time because of the implication that if we call that prayer time, that it would make it seem as though everything else we're doing is not also prayer time. And so we changed the name of that. And I wanted to speak for a moment. And our friend Rita, I'm glad to see that you're well enough after a fall to be here with us. Rita runs the Shekinah group. If you want to talk more about the word G-O-D, to send a note in the chat to Rita or to get in touch with me, and I'll help you get in touch with the Shekinah group, who like to talk all around the word God and fill in what there is. The tie to the word prayer was this. I don't speak here. This is kind of profound. I don't speak directly about God in this service in the same way that I don't want to have a minute of prayer time in the service. Because to speak directly about God for a minute or whatever portion would make it seem like the rest of the time we're not talking about God. If we call it prayer time and that minute is about prayer, it implies that the other time is not about prayer. The same's true about God. This entire service, this entire time, we are talking about God. We're just not using we're not using the particular language to talk about God. We can have feedback and comments later if people want to discuss more. I have homework for you guys. I decided to make this like science fair. I'm going to give each of you a science fair project to do. Now, you're adults. I have no authority, power to make you do anything. And I want that to be very clear. All I can do is I can bribe you with a sticker that you don't even get.
I want chocolate.
Oh, whoever wants chocolate, that's great. Chocolate is available, just not from me. Here's your homework, science fair wise. I have a few different science fair projects at the ready, and I'm going to ask you to try them and to come back, and you can do a science fair report any way that you want. You can do it. You can put a PowerPoint together. You can make a poem. You can just have some rough notes. It doesn't matter how you present your science fair or if you present it at all. But I want you to
poster boards.
Say again.
Poster boards.
You could do poster boards. It's totally up to you. There's a great quote from Orson Welles which flies in the face of what I'm saying. Orson Welles' quote is, "The absence of limitation is the enemy of art." I'm going to say that again. The absence of limitation is the enemy of art. That you need to have some limits. The limits make you create art because you have to do it in a certain way. The limitation in a movie is that a movie can only last a certain amount of time. If a movie could go indefinitely, you wouldn't have to have art. You could just keep... The art is, and I'm telling you, you can do this homework assignment in any way, which might be the enemy of art, but I'm okay with it in this case. Here's some science fair projects you can do. 1, science fair project, letter A. What? Science fair. Be brave. When asked, "How are you?" pause for 5 seconds before answering. Science Fair project is to be brave, to give yourself a moment of thinking, how am I, when somebody asks, how are you? Do you have to do this one? No, of course not, because there's another one. Science fair question. And you can make up your own science fair question. These are just some suggestions. Science fair question. It should be I. What do I do with people who don't do the thing I tell them to do? A little science fair experiment. In the next week, pay close attention to every time you tell someone to do something and they don't do it. Pay attention to what happens.
I suppose that.
Here's another science fair project. 4-to-1 ratio. This is Gottman. Dr. Gottman has this notion that in all of our relationships, we should have 4 neutral to positive comments for every 1 correction. So science fair experiment, notice what your ratio actually is. Out of your mouth, comments that you make to other people, are you making 4 neutral to positive comments for every correction? Now correction, and this is unfortunate, something as simple as, Emmett, hold your fork the other way. That's a correction. And I got to keep track of corrections. Jane, would you make the volume on the TV louder? Unfortunately, that's also a correction. Not unfortunately, just to keep track of everything that we're saying to other people, we're entering into some ratio of neutral to positive comments to corrections we make. That's science fair experiment number 3. Science fair experiment number 4. Oh, you don't want to do this one. That's where you guys.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. Thanks, Jess. Thank you. That was exactly what I was hoping to do, was build up that you go, oh, I do want to do this one, because I just said you don't. Science fair experiment.
Oh, boy.
Oh, cop? What was that word? Cop? Oh, clank.
Science fair experiment number 4. See what happens this week of not complaining. Now, we only have a few minutes left in this first hour, and I'm going to ask you, do you know what your science fair homework is going to be? Have you committed to something? Obviously, you don't have to, folks. But do you have one of these 4 or something else in mind?
I like the 4-to-1 ratio.
Is that your way, Maria, of saying, I'm going to commit to keeping track of the ratio of things that I'm doing?
Yes, I am saying that.
Although you haven't said it, you are saying it. That's fantastic.
Okay, I am going to commit to noticing what my ratio is in terms of neutral or positive comments to negative ones.
It's not just negative. Corrections. All
corrections. And corrections. Yeah, those little things.
Those little ones. That's where they get you. Okay, Maria. And you will be getting a sticker.
Yes.
In the mail.
So I have a question with the 4-to-1 on the definition of a correction. You know, like your example with the television, if you say, you know, Jane, can you turn up the TV or make the TV louder? Is that the same as saying, as asking, you know, Jane, would you please turn up the television?
I'm gonna,
because that's a request.
I'm not gonna answer that because I don't know. Is really
It
why.
depends. That depends on who set the thing in the first place. Because if you were the one who set it too low and you asked her to,
I'll let everyone be arbiters of their own, and the same for the no complaints. You know, saying this chair is hard, that might or might not be a complaint. I'll let you this is the fun part of the science experiment. So at the very end of your science, then after this, the science fair report. Then there's all the for further studies. I'd like to look more into what is the exact definition of a complaint. So you're on your own for that. Besides Maria, who's getting a sticker, and I'm doing the positive thing of encouraging and telling everyone be like Maria. Somebody else have something they're willing
Yay, Maria.
to commit
I think
to
that
say?
I'm going to watch my sarcasm comments so much more because occasionally they are misinterpreted as passive aggressiveness. And then sometimes they'll have a passive aggressive issue on occasion, and I've been trying to work on it. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, fantastic. Anyone
I
else want
have a response to that. Just hold up this sign.
Joke alert.
Alert.
Thank you. Thank you, Rita.
It helps.
Good.
What does Rita's sign say?
It
I
said
can't see
joke
it.
alert.
Joke alert.
It's got it at the handy. Okay, folks. Well, we are coming to the end of today. I thank you. This was as always, an experiment, an experience. I'm going to put everyone on the screen so we can all see your faces. And let's say goodbye to all the people who are watching from afar.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everybody.
Have a great day.
Yeah.